Let's talk honestly for a moment, without judgment, pressure, or shame. People who smoke are not weak. They are not lacking discipline. They are not bad at quitting. They are human beings whose brain learned a pattern. And brains are excellent learners. That is where we begin. One of the most common beliefs that most smokers carry: smoking helps me relax. From a neuroscience perspective, this is understandable, yet incomplete. What nicotine actually does is temporarily relieve the discomfort created by nicotine withdrawal. The calm that follows isn't even true relaxation. It's the nervous system briefly returning to baseline. Returning to baseline after being pushed out of balance. Simply, the brain mislabels this relief as pleasure. So, the belief becomes, this calms me. Yet the science shows the habit creates the stress it claims to relieve. Another common belief is, I smoke because I am stressed. But stress alone does not cause smoking. Stress activates a learned response loop. A neurological shortcut that the brain uses when cognitive load is high. Here is what is important for you to understand. The brain under stress does not seek health. It seeks efficiency and familiarity. Smoking became familiar during moments of emotion, transition, and overwhelm. Over time, your brain linked certain cues: coffee, driving, work breaks, conflict, boredom, all with nicotine, because nicotine reliably changed how your body felt. This does not mean you choose poorly. Simply, it means that your brain did what brains do best: pattern completion. Triggers are not commands. They are conditioned predictions. When the brain detects a familiar context, it begins to prepare the body for the expected outcome. That preparation can feel like an urge, but it is not a need. Neuroscience shows that urges peak and fall within minutes when they are not reinforced. The brain updates itself through experience. Every time a trigger occurs without smoking, the neurological association weakens. This is not willpower. This is neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity works both ways. Many smokers unconsciously carry the identity. I am someone who smokes. But neuroscience tells us something that is more precise and something more freeing. Smoking is not who you are. It is a behavior supported by a network that can be reorganized. When behavior changes, identity follows, not the other way around. And, interestingly enough, the brain does not like ambiguity. When a behavior no longer fits the self-image, naturally, the brain will let it go. So instead of quitting, the brain responds better to, I am becoming someone who responds to stress differently. Notice how that feels. Not forceful, not threatening, just accurate. Here is another belief worth examining. If I stop smoking, I lose something. And yes, the brain does resist loss. That is why sustainable change is never about removal. It is about replacement. The nervous system needs a behavior that regulates breath, changes sensory input, shifts attention, provides a moment of pause. When those needs are met another way, the brain no longer suggests smoking because it is no longer the most efficient option. And the brain always chooses efficiency. Here is something remarkable. When people learn how their brain created the habit, self-blame decreases. When self-blame decreases, stress decreases. When stress decreases, cravings weaken. That is not motivation. That is psychology. And as this understanding settles in, many people begin to notice something subtle. Old situations still happen, but they no longer carry the same pull. The thought of smoking arises and then fades, because the brain has learned something new, and learning changes preference. No one needs to be forced to stop smoking. They need to feel safe enough to change. And safety begins with understanding. And as you hear this now, your brain is already doing something useful. Re-evaluating old assumptions. Updating outdated predictions. Creating space for new responses. That is how change starts. Not with pressure, but with clarity. And when clarity replaces confusion, the mind becomes naturally receptive to tools that support regulation, resilience, and choice. Tools that work with the brain, not against it. And that is where real freedom begins.